It doesn't matter what community, what nation you belong to, or what language you speak. As human, we have something in common, and that is emotions. And what emotions are? Emotions are literally hormones, and storytelling is the very powerful medium to evoke all sort of emotions within us. For example, if tell you a certain type of story, let's say it is more sympathetic or it demands empathy from you, so it releases the hormone called oxytocin. And if I talked about this story which gets you motivated and inspired, it almost has a high level of hormone called dopamine. So what story does to us is, story has the work done that it evokes emotion, and emotions are literally hormones that makes us feel in a certain way, at least for a certain moment. And when we heard a certain type of story from anyone, we attach different kind of emotion to it. And when we heard the story, we visualize it along the storyteller who is telling the story. Either you can take the example of movies, a web series, or any advertisement which to which you feel more connected. What the movie or any such video does to is it evokes a relatability in you, and when you are watching any of such content, you are relating it to it. You are visualizing yourself as a hero, as a character in that video, movie, or web series. So a storytelling helps us in relatability, in make a very strong bonding with the person, with the character we are watching in front of us. We are seeing him acting and doing things in front of us. And see, the most important thing, it build trust. And which brands, company, or even personal branding has common? What companies or what a person who does personal branding does is, they have certain stories to tell to make it more connected to the audience, to the customers. Any brand, any big brand has a very good story behind its product. Any person who has this personal brand has a certain things. Whenever we think of that person, we associate certain things to the person. For example, if I speaks of productivity, I always thinks of Ali Abdal. If I speaks of fitness, you might have certain creator figure or certain celebrity within your mind. If I speaks about motivation, inspirations, if I speaks about communication skills and storytelling, you have another names and pictures in front of you of all those person. So what these personal branding does to is that they capture some head space within our mind. And when a story does captures our attention, we retain it for a very longer period of time. And when we have this head space for certain person, for certain product, we end up trusting it, almost a blind trust in most of the cases. That may be correct or maybe incorrect for that matter, but we have unconscious trust and bonding with the product and the person. So This is whole the game of storytelling. We associate a product, a person, a company to certain stories. For example, let me give you a very realistic example. If you talked about our day-to-day life, we have certain kind of stories about ourselves, that I'm this kind of person, I'm doing this, I'm confused, I'm this, and we have whole theory about ourselves. Similarly, you meet different people throughout your day, uh, or you meet different characters through videos and a web series. You have certain different kind of stories about them too. Just think about it. You have enormous number of stories within your brain. And how storytelling or stories help to you? Stories help you to retain more in terms of retaining the information which you have gone through throughout the day, throughout the year. And if some of the stories and experiences moved you emotionally, you can hardly forget it forever. You cannot forget it. There is a very particular space that the story captures within your mind if the story really moves you emotionally. So the story is highly connected to emotions, which we hard it is hard to forget it. Literally, it is hard to forget it. And the brain has very specific way to retain information, and that's the very optimum way to retain information is stories. Stories makes us a very sequential form that we can easily remember and retain for a very longer period of time. So whenever you have to grab someone's attention, or you have to evoke certain kind of emotion in your audience or in your clients, you have to have a very strong story to present. That story can be very small, but it has some substance in it. It has some very emotions in it that can grabs your audience's attention immediately. For example, you have seen a lot of talks, presentations, speeches that starts with a story, and you have this unconscious biasness towards storytelling. You get highly attached to it. You get really relatable to it whenever you heard any information, or you heard any experiences of the other person in terms of a story, in terms of a sequence, that this happens to me, then this happens to me, then I did this, and therefore I transformed to this figure. So this is a sequence, a very typical sequence which we usually heard and watch in day-to-day lives. So make sure whenever you have a speech, you have a very authentic story, anecdote, or even case studies to present your data, statistics, or even any technical information in front of your public and audience. That's all for today, and I'll keep sharing my learning with you all, and I will attach one of the link for a TED talk that it speaks about more of storytelling in a more detailed format by JP. This is David JP Phillips. He is a Swedish communicator, expert, and storyteller, and he's a coach. You will learn a lot of from him too. I'll link the TED Talk in the description. Go and have a look on it. Bye.